brutal trials has the physical body of Yuri Boyka endured? Which injuries sustained in the ring turned out to be the most critical? And in the end, what exactly is his animalistic rage capable of doing to your body? The answers to these and many other intriguing questions about our old acquaintance, the undisputed Yuri Boyka, are all in this video. He was a cruel man, full of hatred, and he did terrible things. He fought in hundreds of matches in the filthiest, most brutal underground rings, places so hellish you couldn't even imagine them. Until one day, God showed him the true path. No matter what happened in the life of Yuri Boyka, he never forgot the gift given to him by the Lord, the gift of being the most complete fighter in the world.
I'm the most complete fighter in the world.
That's how Yuri Boyka sees himself. He says, Greeks, Asians, Americans, they turned fighting into a science.
Egyptians, Greeks, Asians, American boxers, all made fighting into a science.
But he was meant to be the next step in the evolution of the perfect fighter. Boyka isn't just some thug off the street, he's a legend of underground prison fights, and you'd do well to remember that before his fist smashes into your face, because that's what's going to happen, and everyone around him knows it. Behind Yuri Boyka's savage power and supernatural agility stands the relentless dedication of Scott Adkins. To become the most complete fighter in the world, Adkins immersed himself in months of intense MMA, acrobatics, and gymnastics training long before the cameras rolled on Undisputed 2. He didn't just play Boyka, but he lived him. Refusing stunt doubles, he performed nearly all of his own action scenes, including the most dangerous flips and aerial strikes. The man responsible for shaping Boyka's unique combat style was choreographer Larnell Stovall, who fused taekwondo, sambo, and capoeira into a brutal ballet of spinning kicks and bone-snapping precision. Every move had a purpose, every strike a reflection of Boyka's violent faith. To embody this beast physically, Adkins pushed his body to the limit. He packed on over 10 kilograms of muscle, ate 6 meals a day, and trained like a professional bodybuilder between takes. What we saw on screen wasn't just acting, but it was a transformation. We know only a little about Boyka's life and how he became the king of prison fights. Just a few things. He's been training for as long as he can remember, even before he could consciously understand what training was. He was imprisoned for 3 brutal murders committed under particularly severe circumstances, and whether or not he received a life sentence, the time he served was certainly close to it. Most likely, he's originally from Russia. His total prison time before escaping at the end of Undisputed 3 was around 10 years, and much of that time had already passed by the events of Undisputed 2, which is where we first meet Yuri Boyka. There, he's introduced as a ferocious, ruthless, furious, yet deeply religious antagonist to Michael Jai White's character George Chambers. But even then, he's not without a certain sense of honor. With the arrival of Scott Adkins in the role, the franchise was reborn. Yuri Boyka became the peak of physical conditioning, Scott Adkins at his very best. It was the finest shape he had ever been in, especially for a direct-to-video action film. Boyka's fighting style is a blend of many techniques. Especially in his first appearance, those styles were adapted more for entertainment than realism. But the result was unforgettable. His first fight on screen, the 35th in-universe prison fight of his career, is one of the most spectacular matches in the entire franchise, if not the best in Undisputed 2. In this fight, Boyka showcases his deadliest weapons, his legs, combined with his acrobatic prowess. That combination became the signature of his choreography. But we also get a glimpse of his ferocious nature immediately after the fight. When his cornerman removes the tape from his wrists, he accidentally gives Boyka a small cut. And Boyka, being obsessively religious and living by the Old Testament rule of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, decides this mistake must be repaid. The cornerman grows visibly uncomfortable, realizing what's coming, and although Boyka appears to be distracted by the good news of a potential title shot, he does not forget to finish what he started. This isn't just a scare tactic because wrapping fists requires heavy hand usage, the injury will take a considerable amount of time to heal. Later, a furious Boyka will kill one of his own henchmen, crushing his ribs and depriving him of the ability to breathe. His death is long and agonizing. And all of this is done to send a clear message to Chambers. In fact, Boyka even breaks his own teammate's arm just to make a point. One unforgettable moment, showcasing Boyka's pain tolerance and disregard for injury, happens in the cafeteria fight with Michael Jai White. On the surface, nothing special. But when Boyka, furious, strikes a wooden table and splits it in half, a shard slams into his shin. Surprisingly, the shin holds up, a reminder that the tibia is far more resistant to stress than most people realize. What's more surprising is how excruciating that must have been. That area of the body has almost no cushioning, just bone and skin. Remember the emotional showdown between Jean-Claude Van Damme and Tong Po? This was that, but real. Boyka doesn't just strike with his knee, he destroys his enemies. In Undisputed 3, Boyka ends his arc with the Colombian fighter by utterly dismantling his opponent's knee joint. A character named The Mole, who specializes in hurting people, teaches Chambers exactly how to do it. Pin the leg, grip above the knee, and press with full force. Chambers executes it perfectly, and Boyka's knee is annihilated. Prison doctors of unknown skill are forced to put it back together. Now, I'm no doctor, just an enthusiast with a few personal knee issues, but I'll offer a few guesses. After the injury, even with rehab, Boyka suffers from chronic pain that causes a limp. He likely has a form of joint block, meaning sometimes the knee won't bend or straighten correctly. That points to damage in the meniscus. He also shows signs of instability, indicating torn ligaments, especially the cruciate ligaments, which are essential for knee stability. According to experts, repairing these ligaments requires specialized tools and training, not some dirty rag and prayer. In the finale of Undisputed 3, we see Boyka tying a floor rag around his knee. He was likely trying to stabilize the joint. Surprisingly, it works well enough. But the damage from his fight with Chambers was serious, and repairing it, he did repair it by the way, cost him his entire payout from Gaga. If any trauma specialists or orthopedic surgeons are watching, please leave your expert opinion in the comments. But one thing is clear, it's much harder to break Boyka's spirit than his bones. After his loss to Chambers, Boyka spent about a year as a prison janitor. But he didn't waste his time. He trained through pain, using isometric and flexor exercises to strengthen his muscles, proving that even without legs, he'd still be a better fighter than most. Not just his legs, his upper body became massive. In these scenes, Scott Adkins is bulkier than ever. This was Boyka's largest form in the entire franchise, but we only see it briefly during his fight with the Russian fighter from St. Petersburg. And that was just one match in a tournament with 4 fights across 1 week, something Boyka's body had never experienced. His nightmare opponent came immediately after the Mystical Champion, and he hadn't even recovered from a serious back injury. This injury drops that opponent's rank in Boyka's all-time list, but the damage to Boyka's spine was no joke. That audible crunch was not a sound effect. It was the sound of vertebrae under pressure. It could be a dislocation, maybe even a fracture. Again, it might be something short-term rehab could fix, but would you expect someone with a spinal injury to win multiple fights in a row? Realistically, no, but artistically, that's exactly what it's about. Motivation and willpower. Even with a broken back, or no back at all, Boyka is still the best fighter in the world. The filmmakers use these injuries as dramatic tools, to show us Boyka's resilience, to raise the stakes, to remind us that even the most unstoppable fighter in the world can learn one simple truth: the world doesn't revolve around him. So, no matter how many bones break or how deep the scars run, Yuri Boyka remains what he's always claimed to be: the most complete fighter in the world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your favorite Boyka moment in the comments.